Welcome back, everyone, to Issues of Faith. So happy to have with us Bishop Joseph Walker. He's the pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church, a church with 33,000 members. We were talking about the impact of the coronavirus, and now I want to move on to what we're also seeing all across the country, and that's the racial division. Bishop Walker, here in Nashville, how divided is our city? Do you feel like racially? Well, I'll just ask you that question straight up. How divided is our city, do you feel like, racially?
Well, yeah, I think it's difficult to really measure that. What I can tell you is that what we are experiencing nationally certainly has reverberated with our community, and it causes us all to pause and reflect upon how folks, of African descent and brown folks have been disproportionately affected by the administration of justice and by health disparities and by a variety of things. And I think that what we're seeing now is not an episodic event, but we're seeing kind of this effect of weathering over time that people have just gotten fed up. And what we saw with George Floyd, I think, and it certainly created a sense of rage in everyone to realize something has to be done. So I believe it's a watershed moment for us to really look at this and take a deep dive on how we can be better as a people.
Do you feel like there can be real change that comes from this moment? What do you think is the result of this moment, what we're seeing now?
Well, listen, I think, the beauty of Nashville is that we have some amazing people. We have some folks who are willing to roll up their sleeves and go to work around this issue. And people, that's what I love about the diversity of this city. And I think what it's going to take is us to understand that empathy is important. Empathy happens when you put yourself in someone else's situation, when you become a listener. It's no secret that, listen and silence have the same letters, right? In order for you to really listen, you have to just be quiet and be a student of someone in those experiences. And so you can understand what they're dealing with from day to day. And when you come into the community and you begin to understand how people are living every day and what they're dealing with, it creates a sense of empathy and understanding. And then it galvanizes you, motivates you to get involved. And I believe that's what it is. I think secondly, it's important for those who are in power to recognize that there is somewhat of violence in silence, right? To say nothing is just as violent as to say something that's visceral. So it's important that we understand to speak up in those moments, to say that's inappropriate, to advocate for what we know is wrong. When we see a thing and not be so caught up in our politics and caught up in our religious, formations that we are not willing to speak to power and declare something needs to be done. And I think there is unity in togetherness. W.B. Du Bois wrote that the problem in America is the color line. And I believe those words from the early 1900s still speak to us today, right? But I believe that what is possible is that Nashville has some amazing folks I've worked with, white and black alike, who really want to see this issue resolved, see us come to a place where we can really become what Dr. King imagined as the beloved community.
It's been said many times the most divided hour is the hour on Sunday during worship, racially divided. Yeah. What do you think about that? Are people worshiping where they're comfortable? Do we need to do more to integrate worship? What do you think about that statement that you've heard many times?
Yeah. I think worship is deeply personal. It's deeply personal. I think just to bring people together, to hold hands and saying "Kumbaya" that's unity. That's uniformity, rather. That's not unity. I think that the real issue is to understand the social implications of why worship ended up there. That came out of Jim Crow. It came out of black folks had to worship in their own spaces on their own side of town. And so now that, we have the opportunity to explore and to learn, I think it's great to have those kinds of moments where there's a cross-pollination between cultures and we learn from each other and, we stop in. And there's some great folks. I get a kick out of it. I love it. Folks who come, who are white and other who come to our church and just to experience it and bring their kids, and some of them end up joining and staying and become amazing members of our congregation. And I love that. And I think it's just important that we're not locked into what we've always known, but try to reimagine what I believe can be when we are empathetic and we are passionate about change.
What would you like to see churches in Nashville do to move us forward, and churches in general do to help us bridge the divide, this racial divide? What should churches in general be doing?
Well, I think it's important the churches to take the lead of their pastors. Pastors set the tone for those churches. One model, and I'm very proud of it, is Mount Zion and Brentwood Baptist. Mike and I are very good friends, and that began a friendship that moved into our churches. And Mount Zion being one of the largest churches, predominantly African American, Brentwood being one of the largest, Caucasian churches. We've done some great things together in the community, and we've having the tough conversations. I've talked to his staff. He's talked to my staff. We've talking to leadership. We're working on projects together to help the community, and they're reimagining. We're sending money to Africa and doing this. How do we send money right to North Nashville to help some of these things that are happening right in our backyard? So those are the kinds of things that churches can come together and partner and work together, not for photo ops, but the real work. And I think the authentic space that comes from in Mount Zion and Brentwood Baptist is a model for churches not only in Nashville, but even around the country.
So you like to see that when churches are working together and getting to know each other, and that's what it's all about, is just kind of talking, listening, as you said, for about a minute. How optimistic are you that, again, in 5 years, we're going to be in a better place than we are today, or are you not optimistic?
I am very optimistic. I'm optimistic because I believe in the best of Nashville. I believe in the best of who we are, and I know that this moment has shaken us all to the core. I think that we've all had to reflect on this moment of stay at home, and we're seeing things in real time, and to see what folks have been protesting about, and I go down the street and I see young white kids, and I see Asian kids and black kids all holding up signs saying justice, and it just, that speaks to something is happening. This is a tipping point, and for that, I'm very optimistic.
And I wanted to ask also, we were talking about COVID at the top. How are you engaging with members now? You're there via Zoom. I'm over here. How are you engaging with members now?
The same way. I've set up a thing called Virtual Connect in our church, where we allow members to sign up twice a week to have an opportunity. It's a wellness check where I check on them and their own, sometimes 50, sometimes 100 at a time. And we're just kind of going, talking to each other, encouraging each other, sharing resources, best practices. And they, it's a wonderful way. I tell them simply, social distancing doesn't mean social isolation. We have to be in relationship with one another. And so these virtual connects have been just amazing, and they have produced so much fruit.
And I guess now we have a minute. So in this final minute, what do you want people to take away? I think this has been such a tough time on so many levels, whether it's been the tornado and of course COVID, and of course all the protests and the division. How do we... What kind of comfort can you give to people in the midst of all that's going on?
Well, I think it's important, particularly with so much that our city has experienced. It's kind of a trifecta, right? It's again, it's the tornado, it's coronavirus, it's the racial climate, and I think what we learn in that is a sense of self-reflection. It's a moment where we begin to say, what is it that I'm being called to do to serve others, to make my community better? And I believe that when we posture ourselves that way, I think we're able to find healing and restoration in places we never imagined. We are healed when we help others. We're healed when we open up ourselves and not become recluse, not become bitter, but become better and say, perhaps these things have happened to slow us all down, that we can actually take care of one another.
Bishop Walker, I love that. Thank you so much. Let's look for ways to reach out, to help others, to listen. Bishop Joseph Walker, thank you so much for being with us. And thanks to all of you for being with us on Issues of Faith. Have a great day, everybody.